Hello everybody, how's it going? Rockley Smile here, and today I'm here to bring you the sequel to our tier list of the original Tier 1 and 2 shotguns from classic FPSs. Today we're going to be looking at super shotguns, as you can see. And this was my intent from the beginning. I wanted to juxtapose the one versus the other. There's so many devastating weapons in these arsenals that I figured it'd be worth taking some time to highlight some of the best from both tiers of the lower introductory shotguns versus the best, highest powered ones. And in fact, you could make an argument that perhaps the two top tier ones I chose, which were Half-Life 1 and Shadow Warriors shotguns, could possibly be integrated just fine into this roster as well. So, you know, let's have a quick look. Let's see what we've got here, and then we'll sort them into the same categories as we did on the last one. And take a moment to get acclimated. There's probably quite a few that you recognize, and I did a better job of cropping them this time. I actually brought them all into Photoshop and used a standard aspect ratio instead of let the software do it, because that was a little silly. There's also music playing, and there was music on the first one, but it was too dang low to hear. So hopefully you've got your bearings, and we'll start on the left, and we'll go down through what everything is. You'll probably recognize the first one. This is the Doom 2 and on original super shotgun. It's a fan favorite. It's one of the best there is at what it does, but, you know, there's some others that could compete as well in here. Following that, I also sought to include the Doom 64 super shotgun because they actually function substantially different, and I'll explain why in a moment. Then we've got the Quake 1 super shotgun, which is definitely one of my favorites. Following that, oh, that one's out of order. The Quake 2 super shotgun, and I have to correct myself. I said that the shotgun was the starting weapon in Quake 2. It is not. There's a stupid blaster, and I freaking forgot about it. Same thing with Duke 3D. It's also, you start with a pistol, and it's extra dumb because I've seen the introduction to map 1 about a billion times. His starship falls down out of the sky and blows up, and he locks his pistol ammo in, and anyway, how embarrassing. So yeah, Quake 2 super shoddy. Then we've got our Quake 3 super shoddy. You can see the Quake are all right in a row there. The Turok ones are a little bit awkward because actually there's like a two-tier system that goes up a level as you go from Turok 1 to 2. So in Turok 1, there's an original single-barrel shotgun, and then that's the one you see there, the combat auto shotgun, rather, is the upgrade to it. So this is the Tier 2 for Turok 1. And then in Turok 2, the Tier 1 is actually the super shotgun. I say super, it's a double barrel. You know what I mean. And then the upgrade to that is actually called the Shredder, and I just didn't include it because I thought it was too futuristic, and well, I just didn't want the list to get too out of control because you can see there's quite a few others here. Then we've got, oh, that's out of order too. Move that over. This is the super shotgun from Serious Sam 1. And you see there's actually 3 from the Serious Sam series. So a lot of S-ing going on. I feel like a snake. Then we've got a double-barreled shotgun from Serious Sam 2, and then the auto shotgun from Serious Sam 2. Then these two you might not remember if you didn't play this particular game. It's quite possible you didn't. The combat shotgun from Soldier of Fortune, followed by the combat... No, it had a better name than that. It might have been the auto shotgun or like ballistic shotgun or something like that. Anyway, it's a very, very strong shotgun. Then, another classic. We've got the flak cannon from Unreal Tournament, and I sought to include, this is the oldest format that isn't just the one from Unreal, which I thought was just kind of lame. This is Unreal Tournament's flak cannon. Then, this one, if you get this one, extra points, because you may have seen me play this years and years and years ago on my YouTube channel. This is the what the hell is it called? Is it Molten Cannon or something like that? From Kiss Psycho Circus Nightmare Child. And again, I want to stress, this is games that I have fond memories of. You may not. I'll say, though, Kiss Psycho Circus The Nightmare Child is a better game than you would think it would be, based on its source material, which is legitimately, it's a game about Kiss, the band. Decent weapons. and actually, like, okay level design on occasion. Sometimes it's a bit bad, and they sought to include tons and tons of enemies, so you get a lot of use out of this one. Anyway, it's a fun memory for me, so I put it in. And last but not least, this one is really here as an honorable mention. It's far too new to actually belong in this category, but I just wanted to put it here because it's so good. It's just so good. It's the quad barrel shotty from Bulletstorm. And I honestly think Bulletstorm is surprisingly still slept on, despite the very awkward fumbles they did with trying to reboot it and then, like, shoehorn Duke Nukem into it. I don't know what the hell was going on with that, but the game's actually quite good if you're looking for a mindless, incredibly fast-paced action game with decent physics and lots of explosions. It's a good time. It caters to this kind of gameplay, actually. A lot of the Quakey kind of fast-paced, you get the idea. All right. So, we're going to start back on the left again. Sorry that took me a million years to get through. Our super shotgun from Quake 2. I'm going to juxtapose it up against the Quake 64 shotgun. And if you remember the reload animation on the super shotgun, so you fire it, and then cracks the barrels open, then you get the shells in. I'm doing the animation with my own hands off camera in case you're wondering what the hell's happening. Barrels in, back up again, ready to fire. So it's got a little bit of a moment to it before you can use it again. But then versus Quake 64, what it does is very awkward. It fires, and then it kind of lowers down slightly, then clicks back up again as if it just kind of like pulls some shells up out of the universe to fire. I prefer the level of transparency that we get from the super shotgun in Quake 2. I think it's ideal. It's probably my favorite weapon to use in the game, and I have to put it in top tier. It just belongs there. It's the, like, definitive quintessential super shotgun experience, which the only one I think would top it, well, we'll get there in a moment. So I'm going to follow that then with the Quake 64 one, which is at the very least a staple. I use this all the dang time, and I would be hard-pressed to pick something that I would use more. It's just, I guess we're just looking at the roster and how much utility it gets. They're both fantastic. They both could be top tier. This is the way I decided to go. Then, Quake 1, probably my favorite weapon to use in the whole game, aside from maybe the second-tier nail gun. They're both very good. I think the Quake 1 Boom Chick is the most satisfying in the industry, possibly. It's perhaps even better than the Doom 2 Super Shotty. Feel free to correct me in the comments if you feel differently. And also, I heard your comments about the Blood shotgun. I played Blood like twice when I was a kid. I think I went over to a friend's house and played it like a couple times. So I had almost no memories of it. Like, I did remember it, but like the vaguest possible sense of it. So I didn't include it in the list, and also wanted to keep it kind of culled down somewhat, so it was easy to not include that. Same with the BioShock one. I did play BioShock back when it was new. I don't remember it being especially great. I didn't want to load it up with, like, forgettable weapons, but I get that some of you feel differently, so we all have different memories based on what we played as a kid and what we grew up with. So then the Super Shotgun with Quake 2, how do we go with this? Well, I'm thinking through the roster of weapons of Quake 2, and I do land on the Super Shotgun as quite useful, as quite a good amount of utility from it. As far as it being the best weapon in Quake 2's roster, I mean, not that that necessarily is what I'm using as a metric to qualify it as top tier, but it's like, I'm just kind of piecing them together out of the whole group here. I would say it's definitely up there, but I don't think it's the best. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in staple for that reason. I want it to be that top tier is like, it's not populated by everything. There's got to be a couple in there. There's maybe a couple forgettable ones too, but keep them mostly toward the middle, you know, spread it out like that. So the Quake 3 shotgun, it's a weird one, honestly. This one is not as straightforward as I would have thought, just looking at it. Because my first memory of it is a very awkward one. It's, why is there a laser sight on this? I don't know if you remember this, but when you pick up the thing, you can see it spinning in place, right? I think it spins in place. And you can see there's like a laser sight coming off the bottom of it. It's like, it's the exact opposite of what a laser sight is for. There is no pinpoint accuracy here. I mean, I guess it gives you a general direction of where forward is, but I mean, not that you can aim down sights or anything anyway. And it doesn't actually show up on anything, so it's really just a cosmetic detail. It's just a strange one to put in as a shotgun. Sure, put it on a rifle, put it on a handgun, something maybe with like a single round, but the point of a shotgun is it spreads out. So I don't know, as far as that goes, I think my favorites were like the railgun, plasma gun. I definitely use the shotgun a good bit. I'd say it's probably a fallback for me. I don't think it's my favorite in the whole game, but, you know, your mileage may vary again. And I do seek to potentially do other series of this if you want to see me do, like, best railguns, because I love a good railgun. I was thinking maybe railguns, rocket launchers, machine guns, possibly, so, variations on, like, auto-fire guns, and perhaps one for exotic weapons. I want to, like, see what stacks up against the BFG 9000, potentially. Let me know if that's something you might be interested in seeing. So then we've got the auto shotgun from Turok 1. I remember it feeling... It's punchy, but it's not a huge punch to it. It's like, it's alright. I actually think I might have preferred using the single-barreled in some cases. Obviously, you're going to fire faster, but I think there might have been a trade-off where you could fire more impactful damage with the single barrel, whereas you could output more damage, like just higher DPS, using the auto shotgun. I don't remember the stats here, going off my, as I've proven already, quite flawed memory. I'm going to say this also falls into fallback option. Whereas the Turok 2 double-barreled shotgun, this being your starting shotgun, which again upgrades to this kind of like a futuristic... I think it shot like a bit of shrapnel that had like a blue contrail on it or something. It bounced around a little bit. I don't remember it feeling especially impactful, though, so I think I preferred using this over the upgraded version, as weird as that might sound. The Turok games just have like a really out there, bizarrely large amount of arsenal to them. And in fact, if I ever do the exotic weapons one, like the really powerful stuff, the highest powered weapon in it, the Chronoceptor's, like not as good as the one before it, which is kind of funny. I remember I think it's called the Nuke, just is the most ridiculous over the top effect. The whole screen goes white for ages. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about those weapons. I'm going to say the double-barreled shotgun for Turok 2 is a staple. I think I used it quite a bit. So, I mean, this is sort of endemic to super shotguns in general. They're not that forgettable for the most part. And I think that trend continues on to the super shotgun in Serious Sam 1. I think I would call this a staple as well. Thinking back to that arsenal... Again, you're bouncing around so much in that game between a variety of different weapons, some of which you may only fire a couple times, then off to the next one, and then you'll be back again in a minute. Everything is kind of a staple in that game, as I remember it. But then I get to these two here, and I don't even know where the hell to put them. I almost want to say that the both of them are sort of forgettable, which is bizarre. So if you think back to the animations on these, well, I'd say that this one, the double-barreled one, feels a bit more punchy, but it still has a very sort of cold, mechanical, unattached feeling to it. It's not nearly as impactful as any of the ones up here. It feels sort of just like kind of a wimpy, explosive feeling, and then that's even worse on the one after it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the double-barreled, and I know there's a better name than that, I just can't think of what it is off the top of my head. I'm going to put that in the fallback option category. I'm going to say this is our first forgettable option. I don't recall it feeling good to fire, and I don't recall its animation feeling impactful in a way that, like, it empowers you as a player. It goes around, you fire it once, it slowly turns to the next barrel, it fires. It just feels like a weird novelty gun, not so much something that I looked forward to using. if that makes sense. Like, I think I would prefer the double-barreled shotgun from Serious Sam 1 over both of those. But maybe that's just because it's more like, it's more intuitive. It looks just more like what you expect. But then, if you've ever played Soldier of Fortune, you know there's something very special about Soldier of Fortune. It's a horrifically gory game. It was one of the first instances that I'm aware of anyway, and tell me in the comments if you know something better or more recent, more that precedes it, I think, is the way to put that. Something that came before it that had the physical deformation of the characters, where if you shot their arm, you blew their arm off. I think this is like the first time I can recall thinking I've seen that in a video game. And yeah, although it used, I think it was Quake Engine, possibly 2, somewhere between it, Quake 1 and 2, somewhere in that region. It was enough at the time to feel pretty wild. It felt gross sometimes to look at, and, you know, the animations were real rudimentary. It really wasn't amazing, but they improved that quite a bit with Soldier of Fortune 2, none of which the weapons I put on here. But the original shotgun was probably the most impactful way to knock the limbs off of a character in that game. And I think it's actually paired up with that level of violence, like seeing the results of what you've done to the world, which is kind of the same thinking I was having with the Fear shotgun in the first version of this. The actual environment blows apart sometimes. There are actually walls that will get like chunks taken out of them. The Max Payne effect, if you will. I think that kind of stuff matters. You know, the way that you affect the game world or the thing you shot at, that level of impact carries into the feeling of the gun, in addition to stuff like the amount of kickback it has, the muzzle flare, the animation that goes along with it in general, the sound effect, all of that stuff plays together. And of course, you know, the reload, because everybody likes the nice chuck kind of thing. Although, funny enough, I don't think any of these have that lever action cock to them. Please don't demonetize me. I mean it in the way that a gun uses it, not the other one. And then I'm actually going to put this as a staple. Am I? The moment after I went to put it there, I was like, but did I really use it that much? I feel like I didn't have ammo for this thing all that much, even though I think it might just use shotgun shells. I don't know. My memory is being difficult here. I can't recall if it used like a higher caliber shell, or if it was the same you used for the other shotgun. That would kind of diminish my point. So I guess I'll leave it at staple then. The flak cannon, you may remember, has your left click is the traditional spread fire, and then the right click, it fires like a puck, like a little bit of artillery that explodes on impact, which was quite satisfying, especially if you could land on your target. You could say there's an analog, actually, perhaps something similar to Roadhog's scrap gun from Overwatch, if you were so inclined. I'm going to say that this is one of my favorite guns from Unreal Tournament. And when I think of what else I might have enjoyed more than this, you know, not a lot comes to mind, so I'm going to go ahead and put this as staple as well. We're getting a really staple-heavy category on this one. And then we're going to go ahead and put the, I think it's again the magma cannon or something like that. Absolutely a staple as well. This was probably my favorite gun to use in the whole game, easily. The only reason I don't think it's top tier is because I don't think it can compete with the feeling of firing it with any of these. I don't know. If any of you have played Kiss Psycho Circus: The Nightmare Child, I'd love to hear your opinions on this weapon, because I think it's quite good. And the game in general, again, a bit better than you might think, based on the source material. Then, just for S's and G's, the quad-barrel shotgun from Bulletstorm. I mean, if we were doing newer stuff, I think I gotta put it in top tier. It's a great weapon. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think it's one of the best in the whole game. You can, like, fire an entire cannonball in that game. It feels great. You should play Bulletstorm if you want. It's surprisingly expensive, though. I looked at I think they call it the Full Clip Edition, which is the most recent, like, revamped version with better graphics and such, on Steam. I think it was like $40. And I own the original on 360 and Steam, but it's like the unenhanced version. I was like, is there a pathway, you know, for me to upgrade this? Not really. So one that I'm probably going to watch for on future sales, and I know it's been on sale a number of times. I just never really prioritized picking it up. But definitely a game that's very high on my list that I need to replay, because it's very, very good. One of the best that I can think of for just overall game feel. They really honed in well on the feeling of impact and the way that projectiles, you know, work in that. There was also a shotgun, I think it was from Dark Watch, which I want to say was PS2, forget if it might have been Xbox as well. Really good feeling game for a shotgun on that one as well. I seem to recall Red Faction, one of them may have had a decent shotgun. I don't know, there's probably a handful of others that I'm forgetting. Obviously, you mentioned Blood before. Can't recall how Bioshock Infinite was. Anyway, I went through all this stuff in my head when I was coming up with the list, and this is what we ended up with. So yeah, let me know if there's other games you'd like to see featured, or that you think have been robbed of a higher status that was well-deserved. I will try and consider making another one of these if you're interested. Let me know what you'd like to see as well. If you want railguns, rocket launchers, whatever. I'll take a look. So thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and have a fantastic day. Later.